Welcome back to The Rhode Show. This morning in The Buzz, Friday's earthquake and tsunami in Japan annihilated parts of the island nation, providing really some of the most powerful images of destruction that some of us have ever seen. It's also been raising concerns for parents and how to talk to their children about what they are seeing on television and on the computer. The images could cause unnecessary anxiety for young eyes. Kids may lack perspective on where it happened relative to where they live. And while each child is different, we spoke with a Bradley Hospital child psychiatrist who says you really can't keep kids from hearing about the tsunami because, of course, they'll hear what's going on from other kids in school as well as with parent conversations. But she does suggest trying to limit what they see. Take a look.
They could personalize that event, and they fear for their own safety or their family's safety. Children may have some misconceptions or misunderstanding of the events, so by talking with the parent about it, those could be corrected. Also, children could be helped that way to cope with a traumatic experience and really minimize the risk of lasting emotional difficulties.
The doctor also says it's very important to try and limit exposure for young kids. And for children who are about 8 years or older, it's best to try and put the news in context for them. So I don't know about your children, Patrick. Have they been reacting? Have they seen any of the images at all?
No, not as far as I know. I remember when it happened on Friday morning, we were here at the station. And we woke up to it, and right away when we read about it on the news for about a minute, and my family's not up at 5 a.m. watching the news, but I texted my wife right away and said, whatever you do not turn the TV on this morning with the kids, because this video that's coming out of Japan is devastating. And since then, my kids haven't asked about it, they haven't talked about it, and I don't want them to talk about it, I don't want them to see it. My kids don't watch the news. They don't see their daddy on TV anymore. They used to watch me when I did sports, but now and they watch this show. But,
right, and I agree with limiting exposure, absolutely. However, I do think in some ways it's important for them to see some of it. It is something that's going on in the world, and I've always been a big supporter of teaching your kids compassion. I'm not saying to sit there and show them a full hour of it because they don't need to be saturated, but the other night I did sit down in front of the CBS Evening News because I figured a week into it, it's a little more filtered. It's not as with the breaking news the first day, it's all just kind of coming out. You don't know what you're going to see. This point's a little more condensed and filtered. And yes, my kids did have questions about it. Could it happen here? Do I need to be worried about it? You know, things like that. So it prompts a discussion. Maybe my youngest shouldn't have seen it because she's 6, almost 6. But I think my other two are old enough because they can ask, sort of relevant questions about it. And again, it sort of sparks compassion in them. My daughter was talking about, all right, I have, $60 in my allowance jar. Maybe I could take some of it and buy some teddy bears for these, little kids who are orphaned. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I really feel that you need to teach them lessons of compassion when things like this happen. So.
I think it's good to expose them because, like you said, these are real life events and things could happen like this. And I think it's good to know what's going on outside of, just where you live and, like you said, be compassionate for other people. But I also think that you need to choose when your kids are ready and when you think that they can handle things and certain exposure. And I think it's also about how you handle it and how you're talking.
And I agree with you about insulating them too. You want to keep them kids as long as you can.
I will just leave it at with this. Every kid is different. My children get anxiety when they don't do their homework. So I don't want them, if they see houses floating down rivers and cars flipping over and boats being crushed by bridges, I know that it's going to affect them in a negative way.
Right.
But, it's up to each parent to say. But having said that, you even told me, every time I watch this, I cry. Yeah. So if it's making you do that, what do you think it's doing to your kids when they see it?
I know. So again, it was limited to a few minutes, and I'm not going to sit them in front of the TV every night to get the latest updates. So anyway, all right. I'm curious to see what other parents are saying about this today, Courtney. Are people talking about it on the live blog yet?
Yeah, we have lots of parents joining us on the live blog and our Facebook page, and lots of different views. Which is very interesting because we can decide as parents if our own child is ready to hear and see things like this. But we're going to start on the live blog right now on Facebook on FoxProvidence.com. And this is Tripp, and he says, we've been keeping our 10-year-old informed, and he'll see blurbs of it on the 6 p.m. news, but we don't overdo it. He needs to know and should know what's going on, but too much exposure is just not good for him. And Jean says, I think kids should not see the videos and pictures. They maybe should know there was a tragedy, but the pics will scare them. And she says she still remembers being afraid of a pic she heard and saw as a small child during World War II. So that's her personal experience. Here is our poll right underneath the live blog. Are you worried about the effect the Japan earthquake tsunami has on your kids? A, yes, I shield them from video and pictures. Or B, no, it's real life. They can handle it. A lot of our Facebook fans are commenting this morning. We have about 12 so far. Brian Birch says, I don't have any kids, but I would not shelter them from the world's events. He says, how else are you going to teach them about what is going on in the world they live in? And Kelly says, I want my kids to appreciate every day and be thankful for the world we live in. And Rachel says, I think talking about it is good to make them aware that things can happen, but letting them watch video is not a good idea. So if you'd like to weigh in and share how you're, handling this with your children, come on the live blog and chat with us. We'll be there till the end of the show. But for